Hi, and thank you for joining my channel. My name is Harpsy. If you ever struggled with your kick and your bass clashing in the mix, today I'll be covering a few techniques that'll help you get that clean, punchy, and hard-hitting low end. I'll be covering sound selection, EQ techniques, and sidechain compression. These 3 tips should be able to help you solve that issue that you're having and come out with a way better mix. Let's jump right into it. Alright, so first things first, sound selection. That's a very important part of getting the right sound out of your mix, right? If you have a very weak kick, you won't be able to boost it loud enough or distort it hard enough for it to punch through or cut through. You have to do tons of processing. So make sure that the selection you're making for your kick is very, thought out, I should say. Maybe choose a few kicks, kind of run through them until you hear that it's punching, it's pushing through good in your mix. If we take a listen to this kick, right? It's pretty punchy. It has even some distortion on the top end to help cut through the mix, which that's what I like this kick for. I still felt like it wasn't enough, so I decided to add a second kick with a more clicky sound. And together it sounds like this. And there you go. Okay. So next up is the bass. So there you go. Let's see, check it out. 29. What was that? Just a flex preset manner. Tweaked it a little bit. And that was really it. It's a stock sound. So that was my main bass, but it didn't feel full enough, so I added a sub bass underneath with just a simple sine wave from Serum. Boom, sub, and I just try to match the portamento like the first bass has, that it glides up and down similarly. My next bass that I selected was this brass. Now it's more of a wide bass. It's filling in that top end. Then this little fill bass, which was just a little sample, I believe. 32. Yep. That's it. Little tonal sample I found. And last but not least, the kicks I have in the back. You could hardly hear them, so let me turn everything else off. And that's just to give some groove. So if I play this with the kick together. Okay. So now all together we have this. And in reference with the whole song, it sounds like this. So that's the main goal of sound selection, is do not try and use similar sounds together because they'll just start clashing with one another. Okay, so now that you've done some sound selection, you roamed your library, you found some good sounds, they're beginning to sound good, right? You still have to shape the sounds. You still need to do that with an EQ. That's how you shape a sound, right? So if I were to just turn off all the processing that I have for these sounds, let's do that. It's going to sound, I don't even know how it's going to sound. Let's listen, right? I wouldn't say it sounds all that bad, right? That's the key of sound selection. Still, there are frequencies that are clashing together with one another. So let's take a look at what I did with the EQing. I'll start with the kicks. I boosted the low end, looks like on this EQ. I just felt like I didn't have enough of that thump feeling. I had a lot of punch, but not that thump that I needed. So then I added the top kick by EQing, bandpass, found the area that I like, and I just, stuck with that, added some distortion. If we listen to that by itself, right? What the distortion is doing here is it's bringing up the level, but it's bringing up the level that you perceive. There we go. The perceived loudness is going up, but the actual level, if you take a look, it's lower than when I have the distortion off. Take a look. With it off, with it on. See that? It's around -18. It's louder than when I have it turned off. Boom. That's what that distortion is doing. So now on my bass EQing, let's take a look. Let's take a look at these things here. Okay, so processing for my main bass, I actually boosted. So I thought I would cut. And that's to show you that you don't always need to cut the opposite frequencies and, create this kind of like opposite effect. You could, and it works a lot of the times, and sometimes you just don't need to. In this case, I didn't need to do that. I actually boosted both areas, and they look like they're literally in the same area. 47 hertz, 46 hertz. Yeah, I just felt like both sounds didn't have enough of that oomph at the low end. So don't be scared to boost. That everyone keeps telling you, cut. Yep, that's true if you want to do some carving out of your sound, but what do you do when you need to boost, right? You just boost that area that you need, the frequencies that you need. So I boosted the low end. Next up is the sub bass. It has no processing except a sidechain. And that's because it's just a sub bass. It's just a very low frequency. It's just filling in that void. Okay, what did I do with this little brass bass? Okay, so here I did that. I cut the bottom of the brass bass because I didn't need it there. I already have a lot of sub from my main sub sound and the little additional sub that I added. So and that's how that sounds like. So if I turn this off, it's the low end's back in there. See, now it's kind of all mushed together. So that's why I cut that there. Looks like I didn't do anything with the Pro EQ. I was testing out the differences, and there wasn't much of a difference, so I just stuck with parametric EQ2. We'll just delete that actually. So this, again, looks like this one actually had a little bit too much sub frequencies, below 100, so I decided just to roll off a little bit. What is that? 2 dBs. I just cut by 2 dB, the low end on this little fill sound here. And this is why sound selection goes a long way. Oh, looks like I even rolled off more over here on the little EQ there. Did I do that anywhere else? No, I didn't. So I did roll off low end a few times here for that little fill sound. For that kick bass, here I did a lot of shaping because I just didn't need a lot of the frequencies that it had. I just cut them all out, band passed, and added a side chain. So EQing is to help your sounds fit together. But remember, if you start EQing too much, you will begin to have phasing problems. And in case you do have phasing problems that you want to address, one of my favorite plugins is this. I don't even know how to say that. I'm not going to try to say it, but it's by Voxengo. So you could just read that there. And it does a good job of taking a look at the frequencies and correcting some phase. The final thing that will help the muddiness in a mix when it comes to kick and bass is using sidechain. And it's not only in EDM or house music, techno, it's also in hip hop. They're sidechaining the 808 to the kick at times. So right, it always works. This technique works when you're having issues with your kick punching through the bass. The way I like to sidechain my bass is I use a plugin called Shaperbox. I don't know, I just like it. You could do this with FL Studio by using the Fruity Balance, and then you will, manually draw an automation for it. It's the same thing essentially, but I just got so used to using the Shaperbox, I just love this plugin. But what I wanted to show you is the way I set my sidechain to fit with the kick. If we take a look at this here. All right, so look at this sidechain, and how I achieve this curve is what I do usually is I put a Shaperbox on top of the kick and I engage it. So it's sidechaining the kick right now. But what that's doing is it's helping me see how big my kick is. You see, because it's giving you this waveform. So my kick, it starts to bleed off around this one what is this? A quarter of a bar? Yeah, a quarter of a bar. It starts to end right around that point. And you could easily confirm this because I actually cut the kick back to not 1 bar but 1/4 of a bar, and there you go. It's reflecting it's reflecting the shape of the kick going into the side chain. So then what I do is I just copy this over very easily. You can just go like this, right, and I bring this over to the bass, for example, and that's it. That's how I got this shape. That way it's a perfect it's perfectly side chaining when the kick is playing, and it lets the sub bass punch in right away after it side chained the bass. Without the side chain, and notice as I bring this point up, you'll hear it starts to get a little bit cluttered or muddy. I don't know but that's how I hear it. It's just a little bit muddier of a mix. So that's how I set the side chain to fit perfectly with the kick. And then if I want another sound to maybe come in a little bit more, then that's explained so awfully. Okay, so my sub bass, I kind of wanted it to peak out a little bit before my main bass. That's why I kind of raised this up ever so slightly. If you notice the two, it's just such a small change, but when I was mixing, to me it sounded better this way. So that's why I like to first set up my side chain with the kick method that I showed you, and then off of that method I kind of just copy these over, and if I want less side chain, I'll either adjust the points here, or I could bring down the mix, or maybe I don't want my highs up here to even be side chained. So this is why I like Shaperbox, is because there's so much control here. I don't have to side chain the low frequencies. I could just side chain the high frequencies, and that's it. Or I only side chain the low frequencies. So that's the benefit of having this plugin. Let's see here. This shape I kept the same, and I think on this brass I changed the shape of the side chain. So see here on the brass, I'm not even side chaining anything. What is it? I wish I could show you the frequencies. It does, I don't know what this, maybe 300, I'm assuming. So right around 300 and above, I am not side chaining anything at all because I don't need it side chained. I like it just filling up that room up top. You know, if I side chain it, here's how it would sound like. See, I didn't want that. I was not looking for that sound. You know, there you go. So keep that in mind when side chaining. You don't need to side chain the whole entire frequency spectrum if you do not need to. If you only need to side chain the lows, just side chain those lows and don't side chain the high parts of the bass. You know, the high frequencies work well with the kick. It's those low frequencies that don't work too well with the kick. And there you have it. These 3 techniques will help you achieve a better mix, because that's kind of the fundamentals of mixing that low end. Is you want to make sure you have a proper sound selected. You want to make sure you're shaping your sounds properly. Your bass is not interfering with your kick, and then, you know, your other basses aren't interfering with your sub bass. And then finally side chain that out, you know, using either a volume sidechain plugin like I have, or you could also just do sidechain compression with the FL Studio methods, which if you're interested how to do that, I have another video. I'll link it down below. As for today, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all the support. Let me know if you want any other videos made. I'll be more than happy to make them. As for today, have a good one and see you soon.